One of the bigger challenges when you're trying to manage your habitat is what the heck do you work on first? Unless you are able to do it full time on that particular piece of ground, I'm going to all but guarantee you that you are always going to have more projects you want to work on than you have time to work on. Okay, so what do you work on? Look at your habit, and I wish I'd come up with this one myself. It was actually from somebody else I stole, and if I remembered his name, I would credit him right here and now, but it is a great analogy, so we're going to share it. And that is, look at your habitat improvement on that property as a bucket full of holes. You're trying to go ahead and hold as much water in this 5-gallon bucket as you possibly can. But you got holes in that bucket, so what do? You start patching the lowest holes first and work your way up. In other words, identify what is going to do you the most good. You have a 40 and it's wooded, but it is surrounded, I mean literally surrounded by agriculture. I'm not saying you might not want to put in a little staging plot, but focusing on increasing your food levels probably isn't what really needs to be done. You happen to control a very limited amount of cover in an area that's virtually coverless. In those cases, I'd be focusing on enhancing and improving and possibly even expanding, if I can, my cover. If you happen to be in a big wood setting, you got cover everywhere, but man, I'll tell you what, once it freezes and those leaves drop, my dear, they're eating sticks. That's a really good place to focus on food. My point is go ahead and look at the big picture area. You don't only want to look at your property, but look at a 5-mile buffer around it. What does this area have in surplus? What is it mostly lacking? What is one of the things that deer want the most? Food, water, cover, breeding opportunities, feeling of security, comfort. Which one of those things is lacking in that area? And whichever is lacking most, it is very often that is the very best thing to focus on. You come up with a priorities list. You go ahead and look at all the different things you can go ahead and do to improve your habitat, and you just simply ask yourself the question, which one of these are going to do me the most good for this time of year? Because a whole bunch of projects, well, you know what, right now, probably not the greatest idea in the world to get out there and do a bunch of hinge cutting. It's the middle of summer, hot as heck, it's pretty dry, the hinge cut survival rates are gonna stink. Middle of winter isn't exactly the best time to go out and start a food plot, but is a really good time to get out there and do some hinge cutting or some logging activities. So look at the time of year that we're targeting, what can be done, what is most important, what's going to do me the most good out of those things, focus on them. You go ahead and just keep plugging those holes on the bucket so your habitat holds more and healthier deer with each improvement you make. But just remember, it's not a race. If it takes you 5 years to get something done, it takes you 5 years to get it done. But guess what? 10 years from now, you're a heck of a lot further ahead that you invested that 5 years, ain't you? It can be a little bit overwhelming when it comes to selecting what a person really should focus on when it comes to habitat improvements. So just simply look at the big picture area, 5 miles outside your property. What is my area lacking most? Because that's probably a really good place to start. Okay, analyze what you can do, what makes sense to do, and then once you've matched these projects with the phase of season, go ahead and just pick away at the ones that you think are going to do you the most good, that need to be done the worst. You keep taking that approach, and you know what? It's not a race. It is a marathon. 10 years from now, you are so much further ahead than where you were today. It's not even funny. Heck, 3 years from now, you can completely transform your hunting on that property.